friends, welcome to another session of TechnoGeek SFDC. In today's session, we are going to talk about one of the very interesting feature which is available in LWC. So before talking about that feature, let's try to assume one scenario, or you might have faced this scenario many times in your day-to-day working life, that you asked to build a component where you can show the related records of any particular. For example, let's say you have an account, okay, and you get a requirement to show the related records like related contacts or related opportunities, something like that. You get these types of requirement, okay. These are very day-to-day requirement, and majority of the time we get these types of requirement, okay. And the normal approach what we think is we create an Apex class, we pass the current record ID, and then we do a query and we show query in the Apex class, and then we show on the UI, right? That's the normal process which we follow, where we have some Apex class involved, we have a LWC involved and all other stuffs, right? But what if I tell you that LWC provides a way to skip the Apex class and get the records on the fly directly in the LWC, right? So this is the feature which I'm going to talk about in this video. This feature is known as getRelatedListRecords. This is a adapter which has been provided by LWC, where you can directly get the related list record in the LWC without doing any kind of Apex callout. Okay, so in this way you are saving your Apex spaces, as well as you're managing everything on the caching side, on the UI side. Okay, so let's try to first see how this works. Okay, so let me just go to an account quickly. Okay, so this is a component which I have just created, like account related contacts, where I'm showing the contact related to this account. Okay, but what if I tell I have not used any Apex or anything for this? I have just used purely LWC into this. So how we did that? I'll walk you through the code so that it will be easy for you also to understand how you can utilize this feature in your day-to-day activity, and you can save a lot of time, and it will be more of a faster component you can create. Okay, so here I have created one LWC component called related list demo. I'll first talk to you through the JS side. Okay, so in JS side there is some adapter called related list API. Okay, so for getting the records, the related records, you need to first import this particular module, that is lightning slash UI related list API. So this will contain the method of getting the records. Okay, now, and we are just giving a variable name called get related list record. Okay, now next is like I have one wire method. Okay, so what wire method is doing, as soon as the component is getting loaded, this sorry, so this wire method is getting called. Okay, and then we are passing some of the parameters into it. Okay, so as soon as we pass the parameters into it, so two main parameters which is a must parameter is your first is a parent record ID. So basically, let's assume account contact relationship only, right? So if you have to query the related contacts, you need to specify that which is the parent account, that is the account Salesforce ID. Okay, so this parent record ID will contain the Salesforce record ID whose child you want to find out. Okay, next is your related list ID. So related list ID is basically the name of the child component, okay, or the name of the child object from where you want to retrieve the record. Now, how you can find this? Okay, so to find what will be your related list ID, what you need to do is you need to go to that particular object, okay, that particular child object basically. So let's say in our case I'm passing account ID and I want to fetch all the related contacts. Okay, but how to find out the related contact related list ID, right? So in that case what I will do, I'll go to the child record. Okay, and then see, if you're talking about the parent child relationship, there has to be a relationship field on the child object, right? That is the truth. Then only the relationship will get established, right? So in that case, you will come to fields and relationships, and then you will search for the field, the relationship field basically, okay? So in our case, it is accounts, okay? Now, if you click on the accounts, it will show you some details, okay? And there is something called child relationship name, this particular field, okay? So this child relationship name, whatever the value you have here, like contacts here, okay, this value will come into related list ID. Okay, so similarly, if you have any other relationship, like some master detail or some lookup, so for any other custom object also, I'm just talking about account and contact, but for any other custom object as well, you can easily find out just by going to the relationship field which is present on the child object, and then just find out the child relationship name. Okay, so this is your related list ID. And then you have an option that you can, so basically you have one parameter called fields. This is an optional. So if you don't specify, it will get all the fields. But if you're getting all the fields, in that case, the performance will go down because you're capturing a heavy data on the UI, right? So Salesforce has provided this feasibility that you can give some specific fields only, which is of your use. Okay, so it's like you don't want, all the fields, you just want two fields. So in that case, you can specify those two fields. So this field parameter accepts an array in which you can give the field of the child object, like in our case it's contact. Okay, so what I have done here, I have given like contact dot name and contact dot id. So it has to be like child object API name followed by the field API name. Okay, and then there is something called where clause as well. So let's say you don't want to show all the records. Okay, if you want to only show certain records in on the UI where you have to, put some conditions. Okay, that's where your where parameters comes into picture, where you can specify. So I'll show you on the UI as well how it behaves. Okay, so let's say I have this, I have built this component. Okay, in this, if you see, I have more than 3+ contacts into it, but what I'm showing is only one contact, right? So this filtering is happening via where clause. Okay, where I have specified that the last name should start with LAU. Okay, so it has brought me the contact whose last name, that is Lauren, so it is starting with LAU. That's why it is showing me this particular contact on the UI. Okay, now let's assume that I comment out this where clause because this is an optional. Okay, so let's say if I just comment out this and I'll just remove the comma. Okay, and let me try to deploy this. So this deployment is successful. Now let me just refresh this view. See, so now since I have removed the where clause, I got all the contact names here, right? So this is the difference of using where clause and not using the where clause. If you are using the where clause, basically here you can put some more filters. So currently it's an and condition. You can use and, or, and combination as well. So this basically follows a GraphQL syntax. Okay, you can just check on the online. You'll get a lot of examples of how the GraphQL syntax will be. Okay, but this is the basic where the where clause is going to use GraphQL concept to specify the where clauses. Okay, now so this is what the parameters we have provided. Okay, I'll just save it to how it was earlier. And then similar to wire, usually how we use wire is we give all the parameters, and then there is a variable into it which will store the result of whatever the call out or whatever the operation has been happened. Okay, so this is my variable here, that is contacts. It is having two variables into it, that is error and data. Okay, so in this case, uh, like let's say if your retrieval is successful, you got the records, and there is no issue from the server side, then in the data side you will get all the records into it. So I have console log. I'll show you how the response of, or the how the structure of data will look like. So this will be the structure of your data, how it's gonna look like. Okay, so it will be having so it will be having one variable into it called records, which will store all the records which has been retrieved. Okay, and if you see here, whatever we have basically specified the fields to retrieve, right? Only those fields has been retrieved into it. That is ID and name. Okay, and then similarly we have some other attributes into it like display value and what is the actual value of that particular field. Okay, so this again we will talk going forward. So this is usually the format of your data which will be retrieved by using this adapter. Okay, and then you can see you have you can also see what was the where clause implemented if you are using any where clause, and then if you have something called sort by, so if you're sorting it into it some in some order, if you're sorting it, you will see that also here. Okay, now we have got the records by using the adapter, but how to show it on the UI? Okay, to showcase this on the UI, it's very straightforward. So in the JS, if you see, I have used one variable called records. In this, what I'm doing is I'm storing data dot records. So data dot records is this array which I have received. Okay, so this array is storing all the records which I am assigning to a variable called this dot records. Now this I have got. Okay, records I have got. Now into each record, if we dig down further, okay, so there is something called field for each record. There is a variable into it called fields, followed by name. Okay, and then what you want to display, whether you want to display value or you want to display like this attribute display value. So in this case we want to display, you can say, yeah, so we basically want to display uh, name value. Okay, so the field is name, and I want to display value of that particular field. So that's why the process it will follow, or the sequence it will follow, is your attribute, that is rec, followed by dot fields. It's a standard. Okay, then dot followed by your field API name dot value, and in this way you can show it on the UI. Okay, similarly if you want to show some other field value, so you can use that as well, like here in key we are using like field dot id dot value, so this will showcase the id value of that particular record. Similarly you can get any other records as well. Okay, so let's try to see couple of parameters like as I was mentioning. So these are the parameters which has been provided by this adapter. That is, one is your parent record ID, which is again a required, where your record ID will go. Okay, whose child records you want to fetch. Next is your related list ID. Okay, so related list IDs, like as we checked there, you need to go to the relationship field on the object, find the child relationship name. Okay, that you need to pass here. Next is your fields. So fields are the API name of the related list column fields. Okay, whatever the fields you want to fetch. Similarly, you have something called optional fields. So optional fields are the name of, or basically it will store the API name of additional fields into that particular related list if you want to find out. Okay, and then you have followed by sort by. So sort by is something like you can sort by is something you want to sort the records. Okay, so that is a sort by. Okay, so you can use that. Okay, where you can sort the list which you have retrieved. And then finally you have the where clause. Okay, so where clause again, it's an optional thing, but you can put a condition, and then you can filter out the records which you have received. Okay, it is, as I mentioned, it is in the GraphQL syntax. So these are the parameters which this particular adapter supports, and then you can utilize in your LWC. So I hope you liked this video, you found this information useful for you, and if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, and we will come up with more videos like this in future, and definitely I will try to give whatever the knowledge I have to you. and we can go in the vice versa way. If you have any suggestions or something, you can definitely tell me and we will take it into the consideration. So with this, we'll wrap up today's video and thanks for your time. Bye bye.